Hey, yo. I had to get it right. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Today, a federal judge releases an illegally detained man. The Supreme Court fucks over trans children. And the United States literally bombed Iran. All this and more as we go over what's happened this week. My name is Jovan Bradley, and this is the Weekly Dump. Hello, chat. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in. I hope you like. Look at the look, chat. Look at what we've got going on right now. This is the new setup. Every Sunday, you will see me here live for the Weekly Dump. It's a weekly talk show. We're going to have news. We're going to have debates. We're going to have discussions. We're going to have guests. We've already got guests in the works, chat. So think about that. This is going to be our every week. So I hope you're ready to embark on this journey with me. We've got our studio filled. We've got Steve over here. Do you have your mic? You need to say hello to the people. They need to know that you're talking, Steve.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah,
everyone?
there we go. We got Steve.
I do have the mic.
Producer Steve here with me in studio. I hope you guys are excited. Now, going forward, this show will exist solely on the Red Mirror YouTube page. That page is currently under construction, so if you look it up, you're going to find an under construction page. But going forward, that's where this show will be every single week. It'll be on the Red Mirror YouTube page, but you will be able to find small clips on my page to get people over there, and you'll be able to find. But this first episode, it's here. Jovan Bradley. Hi, nice to meet you guys. It is Sunday, June 22nd at 7 p.m. Can I actually get mods to give me a quick poll in both YouTube and Twitch? Would you guys prefer the show to be Sunday evening, or Sunday during the day? I don't know what you guys would prefer. If people prefer evening, we can always do that. We can do the show 7. Because I'm trying to think. 7 p.m. is not a bad time to do a show. So it might be that we do evenings. Who knows? Welcome in. We've got the YouTube going. We've got the Twitch going. I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. Just to let you know, today's show is going to be a little bit shorter than usual. Usually, it's going to be a 2 to 3 to 4 hour show. Today, it's only going to be probably about an hour, give or take. We're really just going to go over the news of the week, the really important stories. And then going forward, there will be other segments. But this is the pilot, if you will. So I hope you guys are excited to join with me. I do have both my chats here, but I really won't be listening to chat. So if it is the case that you're like, oh man, I'd really love to tell Jovan X, Y, or Z, what I'm going to need you guys to do is I'm going to need you guys to super chat. If you're on YouTube and you want to talk to me, you can send a super chat in between segments. I will answer your super chats. If you're on Twitch and you're like, oh, I want to talk to Jovan, Cash App or Venmo, baby, and then I can read your message. But super chats, when we get super chats, we'll let you guys know what's going on, what people are saying, how people are doing, all of that good stuff. The only thing is, I can't access my super chats like I usually do, unless I go to the internet. It'll be a whole thing. Going forward, this is the pilot. Pilots are this way. Okay? So I hope you guys are ready for a fun stream. I hope you're excited. I hope you're here with me. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial, because we've got some show to do, basically. First and foremost, okay, to start the show out with some good news, okay? Political activist and student Mahmoud Khalil, who was arrested by ICE in March, has finally been released after an order by a federal judge, okay? So Khalil, a 29-year-old Palestinian activist, was arrested after he became one of the leading voices on Columbia University's campus during the pro-Palestinian protests that occurred between April and June of 2024. He was a key negotiator for the Gaza Solidarity Encampment and spokesperson for the Columbia University Apartheid Divest Coalition. He was often seen unmasked at the front line of protests, advocating for university divestment from Israel. ICE agents arrested Khalil at his Manhattan apartment without a warrant, threatening to arrest his then 8 months pregnant American wife. The Trump administration accused him of, quote, leading activities aligned to Hamas. though no criminal charges were ever filed against Khalil. This marked the first high-profile deportation attempt targeting campus pro-Palestinian activism under Trump's second term. Khalil was transferred 1,400 miles away to a Louisiana detention center, missing the birth of his first child. His legal team challenged the detention as unconstitutional retaliation for protected speech. After a federal judge ruled the deportation law was unconstitutional and violated due process, Khalil was finally released on bail on June 20th, 2025, after more than 3 months in detention. Khalil held a press conference after his release, and we're going to listen to a little bit of that press conference right now so that you guys can hear a little bit about what Khalil was going through and what he had to deal with while he was in that detention center. So here we go.
This is breaking news.
Only for today. It's just for every day, like just your words, your words of support, your messages have kept me going. Still, the fight is far from over. The genocide is still happening in Gaza. Israel is still waging a full war against Palestinians across Palestine. The U.S. government is funding this genocide, and Columbia University is investing in this genocide. This is what I was protesting. This is what I will continue to protest with every one of you. Not only if they threaten me with detention, even if they would kill me, I would still speak up for Palestine. Again, I just want to go back and just continue the work that I was already doing, advocating for Palestinian rights, a speech that should actually be celebrated rather than punished, as this administration wants to do. But we'll take a few questions.
Mahmoud, you said that...
To the Trump administration, because they want to keep you detained. What is your message for President Trump?
Just the fact that I am here, it's a message. The fact that all these attempts to suppress pro-Palestine voices have failed now. So this is the message. My existence is a message. The Palestinian existence is a message to this administration.
How does it feel to be free? How does it feel to be free?
To be honest, I'm I'm still trying to just comprehend that. Of course, it feels great. When I was on the inside, I was free. It's just I was locked up. The fact that they put me in that place, that didn't mean that I was not free. I continued to advocate for Palestinians, for the immigrants who are left behind in that facility. That 1,200 men who, all of them, are in...
So something I really want to, before we continue the rest of his thing here, something I really want to say is, my man stands on business, right? It's a very rare thing to see someone be knocked down as much as Mahmoud Khalil was in terms of having his civil rights violated. We have to remember, he was here on a student visa. He was here legally. He's married to an American citizen. And to have all of these things that he and the rest of us really as Americans hold dear, which is things like our freedom of speech, things like our constitutional rights, to have it violated in such a way and to come out and still the focus of everything you were talking about be the focus is the Palestinian movement. The focus is the genocide of Palestinian people. The focus is the divestment of America from Israel. These are all the focused. He's laser focused, and that is something that is beyond commendable in a person. So we really need to recognize that Mahmoud Khalil stands on business, okay? So anything you can say about the man, what you can't say is that he does not stand on business. Let's continue.
Men who the Trump administration are trying to portray as whether criminals or just like illegals, as they say. And as I said yesterday, whether you are a citizen, an immigrant, anyone on this land, you're not illegal. That doesn't make you less of a human. And this is what the administration is trying to do, to dehumanize me, to dehumanize the immigrants, to dehumanize anyone who actually does not agree with what that mystery is.
Can you speak to the...
Sorry, excuse me. We're not going to do any more questions today. Come tomorrow to the press conference.
Mahmoud, do you still believe in the promise of America?
Excuse me, please. No more questions today, but we do have one more speaker, and you can come.
All right, so AOC speaks next. We're not really going to focus on AOC's speech, but I do want to say, okay, we talk so much on my stream, on other political streams that you watch, about this current administration. And while I do believe there is a chance that Mahmoud Khalil could have still been arrested if Kamala Harris had been elected president, I think it's really low. I think it's a really low chance. I think what we've seen here from the Trump administration is a concerted effort to demonize speech. And the reason he's doing this, let's just all be upfront about it, my man's a fascist. He knows that having political opponents, having adversaries is a bad thing. Now, if Trump does not go for a second term, I don't really know the purpose of this, because MAGA, I personally believe MAGA is probably going to die with Trump. MAGA doesn't seem to be as hooked on anybody else as they do with Trump. But to arrest somebody, again, Columbia, he never received any sort of punishment for anything he did at Columbia University. He was never charged with a crime. He's just spent 3 months in prison. 3 months for nothing. And this is a story that we see time and time again with a lot of people, and a lot of people who are losing access to their student visas, the way that they stay connected to the country. We're seeing this over and over and over and over again. So personally, I don't really understand what the goal is from the Trump administration on this. Like, the press around this only goes one way. At least for those of us who can read. Obviously, there are going to be a bunch of people who can't read, who are going to go, well, he's brown. He's a shade. He's not what? So why should he have freedom of speech? There are people who genuinely believe that if you are not an American citizen, you shouldn't have free speech in America, which is so mind-numbingly crazy, because what do they think is the logical extent of that saying is that a tourist shouldn't be able to say whatever they want when they're over here on vacation. What? And it's so interesting because Americans kind of do the reverse of that when they go on vacation. Like, how many of you have left the country and think, well, I still have my freedom of speech over here? I don't know. It's probably a decent amount, right? I would think, but you don't, right? You're bound to the law of the country you go to. So I just think it's kind of silly to say that, like, oh, hey, man, this person should not have been protesting. Something that is the foundational creation of our country shouldn't have been protesting, should not have been doing what this country was founded on, which is protest. So I don't know. At least in my case, I specifically don't believe in any of this. Don't believe in any of this is a weird way to say it. I believe that even if you are a person visiting our country, as long as you're not inciting violence, I think freedom of speech should apply to you as well. I think freedom of speech should apply to undocumented migrants. I think most of our civil rights should apply to everyone within the jurisdiction of the country. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Tell me what you think of this. I personally believe everybody deserves rights, dog. All right, so next, I want to go over a story we talked about earlier this week on my Twitch streams, okay? So the Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision, just helped Tennessee give, like, the biggest middle finger to transgender kids by allowing Tennessee to maintain a law that bans medical care for trans and gender diverse youth, okay? So this is Senate Bill 1 out of Tennessee. It blocks doctors from giving trans children and teens specific forms of gender-affirming medical care. The legislature quotes, determines that medical procedures that alter a minor's hormonal balance, remove a minor's sex organs, or otherwise change a minor's physical appearance are harmful to a minor when these medical procedures are performed for the purpose of enabling a minor to identify with or live as a purported identity inconsistent with the minor's sex, or treating purported discomfort or distress from a discordance between the minor's sex and asserted identity. Now, you might ask yourselves, like, what is the court's logic for allowing the bill to be upheld? Well, the courts basically said it's not discrimination because we're equally screwing over all children. You know, it's dumb. Now, 26 states can ban this care, even though studies show trans kids without treatment have higher rates of depression, suicidal ideation, and self-harm. And in fact, medical gender-affirming care in general is seen as a net positive within the medical community. It's recognized by organizations like the American Psychological Association, the World Health Organization, and the World Professional Association for Transgender Health as a safe and effective method of combating severe gender dysphoria. Now, we talked about this, like I said, we went over this the other day. I don't even know how, like the whole argument, I believe, in the Supreme Court was not the strongest one that exists. I don't think it was the strongest argument that could have been made when it was basically, hey, this is going against, this is discriminatory against trans kids. And the Supreme Court goes, no, it's not, man. It's discriminatory against everybody. So, like, there's no issue. But one of the things that we need to talk about is the fact that we have a litany of studies on gender-affirming care and how gender-affirming care affects children, and not only children, but affects everybody. So I just want to show you guys really quickly. So this is a study. This is called specifically Re-Identification with Birth-Registered Sex in a Western Australian Pediatric Gender Clinic Cohort. Now, this is one of the largest and most thorough studies ever done when it comes to detransitioning rates. And what this study found is that of 552 youth gender clinic referrals that happened between 2014 and 2020, 93.1% of desistant cases, now this is going to be desistance, which is no longer identifying as transgender, so you're desisting. Typically, desisting is going to be different than detransitioning. Detransitioning, you're looking at people who went through the transition process and then later detransition back to their original identified gender. Desisting is more not aligning anymore with gender dysphoria. So what we did see is that of the 93.1% of desistant cases, of the desistance cases, 93.1% of them desisted before any drugs are prescribed. And only 1% of youth, who in this case of this study was 2 people, 1% of youth who were prescribed puberty blockers and or hormones desisted. So this idea, and I got into a conversation, as you guys know, the video should be up on my main page soon. One of the conversations that I got into really talked about how, like, hey, man, there's such a large number of desisting, but we know that it's not actually true. So, again, when we look at the numbers and we look at studies, specifically these largely done cohort studies that have happened over the course of, like this one said, 6 years, I can't understand how we're collectively agreeing. We know for a fact that it is going to harm children by removing gender-affirming care. Removing gender-affirming care is going to harm children. It's going to harm kids who normally would come out and get the support. Again, we talked about this. The American Psychological Association recognizes that when you receive gender-affirming care, you have better mental health outcomes. And in fact, what I can do is show you guys. Let me pull this up really quickly. So that I can show you guys some more of the actual research on this. Because a lot of times what you hear from people is, well, there's just not enough research. I don't think there's enough research on this one, Jovan. I've been told by the Cass report and some other things. I've been told by by Marjorie Taylor Greene, that there was not enough research done on this topic. It's a bold-faced lie, guys. The studies are there if you look for them. So this idea that there's not enough research is a lie. So what I'm going to show you right now on screen is some more of said research. So this is Hormonal Therapy and Sex Reassignment, a systemic review and meta-analysis of quality of life and psychosocial outcomes. Now, this is a systemic literature review. This went over 28 different peer-reviewed studies, and what they found is 80% of individuals who went through gender-affirming treatment saw significant improvement in dysphoria. 78% of individuals reported significant improvement in psychosocial symptoms, and 72% of individuals reported significant improvement in sexual function. Another thing that you're going to hear them lie about a lot is, well, they're not going to be able to have sex the same way. First of all, why are you thinking about children having sex? That's weird. Fucking MAGA Jovan. Stop that. And secondly, it is actually the case that typically you report improvement in sexual function, because do you know what's something that kind of stops sexual function? Depression. Y'all ever been depressed? Y'all ever try to get a big bing bing when you're laying in bed and all you can do is stare at the ceiling? But what helps depression is gender-affirming care. So there have been multiple systemic literature reviews, all of them finding basically the same thing, that people that receive gender-affirming healthcare and gender-affirming treatment, those people have better outcomes at the end of the day. Need I go on, chat, or are we all keeping up with the keep up? I hope so. Now, one of our biggest stories today, okay, this is a big one. President Trump, who MAGA bestowed the title of the President of Peace on the campaign trail, let Americans know through a post on Truth Social that the U.S. Air Force dropped bombs on 3 nuclear sites in Iran around 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the evening of June 21st. Quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan," he said in the Truth Social post. He proceeds to end the post by saying, quote, "Now is the time for peace." This comes after President Trump appeared to be in open disagreement with his own director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Gabbard? Who knows? Trump threw Gabbard under the bus by calling her wrong about Iran's nuclear plans. Gabbard told Congress in March that the intelligence community, quote, "continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. When reporters asked Trump about the assessment, he went full nah-uh and said, quote, "My intelligence community was wrong." Then when they clarified it was actually his own appointee who said it, he doubled down with, "She's wrong." Trump's big brain logic on Iran's civil nuclear program is they're sitting on top of one of the largest piles of oil in the world. I just don't know why they need that for civilian purposes, because, well, apparently having oil means you can never want electricity from other sources. It's like saying, why would someone with a gas stove ever want a microwave? Now, we're gonna look at the moment where Trump is questioned about Gabbard. But one of the things I want you guys to understand here is the reason why we're actually going to war with Iran. And it will always, always, always boil down to natural resources. It is not, okay, a conspiracy theory to note that Iran is the 4th largest controller of oil reserves. They have the 4th largest amount of oil reserves in the world. That's not conspiracy theorist, okay? That is just sort of same essay, different font, okay? Now we're going to watch this really quickly and see Trump's reaction when confronted with the fact that Tulsi Gabbard said, "Hey, I don't see any. We haven't found. I don't know where Donald said we haven't found anything."
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong. Well, there were no weapons of mass destruction. I never thought there were. And that was somewhat pre-nuclear. You know, it was a nuclear age, but nothing like it is today. And it looked like I'm right about the material that they've gathered already. It's a tremendous amount of material. And I think within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they were going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen. I was very much opposed to Iraq. I said it loud and clear, but I was a civilian, but I guess I got a lot of publicity. But I was very much opposed to the Iraq war. And I actually did say, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in. But I said, if you're going to go in, keep the oil. But they didn't do that. They say that they're...
I just need you guys to understand. Do you notice how he keeps going back to the oil? This is what somebody on Instagram said. Jovan, you're a conspiracy theorist. This isn't helping. He keeps talking about the oil, guys. He's the one that keeps talking about it, which is so interesting because as of 2024, America was reliant on ourselves. Well, I won't say fully reliant, but we produced more oil than we used, and we exported more than we imported. So the question becomes, what is Donald Trump actually doing here? Like, what is he now? He also made a statement last night, so we're going to look at that too. He made a statement specifically regarding the Iranian nuclear bombings. So let's give that a listen really quickly. I should have queued it up better. I still should have. There was 40 seconds of dead air. All right, here we go.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty.
So really quickly before we kick super off into this, I saw a TikTok where somebody mentioned that there was a level of propaganda going on in this specific press briefing. And I was like, this probably isn't true, but watching it in full kind of feels like it. We know that Trump's term is up, right? Like, this is his final term as president. Unless they declare wartime powers, he's not going to be able to run for a third term. He's not going to be able to remain in office. There is a weird level of separation between J.D. Vance, Trump, Hegseth, and Rubio in this specific video here. If you look, you'll see that J.D. Vance is sort of off to the side. He's not as close as these other two are. He's not as close as Rubio is. He's hanging out here. And there's a weird disconnect in that these 3 men are all wearing red ties, and this man is wearing a blue tie. Now, I'm no conspiracy theorist, okay? So I'm not gonna sit here and with the tinfoil hat and be like, listen, guys, you gotta believe me. But we do know that at the end of Trump's term, MAGA needs somebody. And who might they need most of all? Now, here's the thing. If the Republican Party, if the GOP really does do what a couple of the rumor is right now, is that they are getting very frustrated with Donald Trump. Most people in the country do not want us to go to war with Iran. They do not want it. They believe that our presence in the Middle East is overextending, and it's just they don't want this. And I think a lot of GOP knows, because they've seen how much of a push the Democrats have done, at least with in terms of protesting and in terms of the people being motioned against Trump. What I'm wondering is if they're gearing up for midterms. Now, if the Democrats can secure a big enough pull in midterms, they have the ability, if they can get control of the Senate, to impeach and remove Donald Trump. They have that ability. Will that happen? Probably not. But if the Republicans even for a second believe it's going to, then the Republicans are going to do anything they can to separate J.D. Vance from Donald Trump. Now, remember this because this will become important later once we finish this up. So I just want you guys to keep in mind the separation here between J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and Marco Rubio.
We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this.
Now, maybe it's just me, but I think we have seen operations like this. I think this is nothing new when it comes to the Middle East. It's almost like Trump is trying to be like, this is more important than getting Osama bin Laden. This is more important than Saddam Hussein. This is bombing Iran, who my own intelligence director said is doing nothing wrong, at least in terms of nuclear weapons. We'll continue, but I find that very funny. I don't know why. I just find it to be entertaining.
Capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even.
Unfortunately, this is true. It does appear to be the case that the United States military is kind of the only one with the military power to have done these three connected strikes. That's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to talk about how the United States has this big imperialist fist that can basically go around doing whatever it wants. And because we fund Israel, now Israel gets to also go, well, we can do whatever we want. Now, listen, you're not going to ever hear me sit here and go, like, a country can't defend itself from attack. I don't believe this. But I'm going to be one of the few people to say, and I'm going to say it time and time again, I don't believe we should have religious ethno-states. Cancel me if you want. I don't believe I believe every country should be open to every person. And we should not exist in a world where a country gets to be a religious. I feel the same way about the fucking Vatican, guys. I don't think the Vatican should exist as a religious country. I don't believe in that. But, we'll finish up what Trump has to say here, and then we'll keep going with some of his craziness.
Been close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God.
I'm sorry, but why does Marco Rubio look like that? He looks so sad. You got to turn your mic on when you want to say something, Steve. I didn't hear you.
No, just he's got the same dead eyes as Pete Hegseth. Maybe Elon cocked him too.
Maybe
he knows.
And did you catch that General Dan Raising Cane's? It's like adding to the Tim Apple multiverse, dude.
Yeah.
This guy's going crazy.
Trump is the worst.
That's the thing, though. He knows. That is like the one guy in that stage that actually knows foreign policy. He's got legit foreign policy experience, and he knows this is fucked.
For those of you guys who wondered who that was Chris, our sound guy. Audio man Chris. Everybody say hi, Audio man Chris.
I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Man, did you guys see? I know it's a bit off topic, chat, but did we see when when Ted Cruz was like, well, the reason that I want to protect Israel is because Trump wanted not Trump. Jesus Christ, I just flubbed a little bit there. He said, I want to protect Israel because it's in the Bible that you must protect Israel, which is really dumb. Next, we're going to look at, there was a Meet the Press, and I only have a small clip of this, but J.D. Vance basically said that Trump, guys, he's just the smartest person when it comes to Israel, or when it comes to the Middle East. Like Donald Trump, nobody else could have gotten us to where we are. It was only Donald Trump. So let's just watch that really
Director
quickly.
of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard said in March that, quote, Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. Democratic Senator Mark Warner, the vice chair of the Intelligence Committee, said he was briefed on Monday that, quote, the intelligence hasn't changed. So why launch this strike now? Has the intelligence changed, Mr. Vice President?
Well, a couple of things about that, Kristen. So what Tulsi said back in March is that Iran was producing highly enriched uranium that was only consistent with them wanting to build a nuclear weapon. There's, of course, an open question about whether they were weeks away, whether they were months away, but they were way too close to a nuclear weapon for the comfort of the President of the United States, which is why he took this action. Now, there's another element here, too, Kristen, which is that we had a narrow window of opportunity. We might not have been able to carry out this attack 6 months down the road. And so when you recognize, on the one hand, the Iranians are trying to get a nuclear weapon, and on the other hand, we have a narrow window in which we can set that program back a very long time, it would have been irresponsible, I think, for the president not to take the action that he did, which is why Fordo was destroyed last night.
And just to be very clear, did the president say go based on U.S. intelligence or Israeli intelligence?
Well, of course, we share intelligence with a lot of agencies, British, Israeli, and so forth, but it was our intelligence that motivated us to act. And I think on the intelligence, Kristen, the thing that I would really emphasize is the way in which the Iranians seem to be stonewalling us. That was not, by the way, our consensus back in March of this year. We saw the Iranians making some concessions. We thought the conversations were...
So I think this is one of my biggest issues with this administration is it is a different story from every person every time. What Trump is telling us is going to be different from what J.D. Vance tells us. What J.D. Vance tells us is going to be different from what Pete Hegseth tells us. What Pete Hegseth tells us is going to be different from what the intelligence community tells us. They are going against Trump's director of intelligence. So we're to believe one of two things right now. Either Tulsi Gabbard was wrong and the entire intelligence community was incorrect, or she was a liar. Now, Donald Trump is probably going to try to paint her as a liar because she went against him, but it's kind of frustrating, right, to always be up against it here. And I think the bigger issue that I have here is that MAGA is basically ignoring everything they asked for, right? On the campaign trail, it was, well, Donald Trump is going to lower the price of groceries. We've seen a consistent increase in inflation in groceries. Well, Trump he's a peace president. No new wars. Where? Every single thing they went against, they voted for is not happening. And we are seeing a big push of people leaving the MAGA movement who are like, why? I don't like Donald Trump. I see it now. But like, you didn't see that. We all saw this happening. I hate that we're in an I told you so moment, but like, I told you so. Anyway, remember that we are here live doing the weekly dump. We only have one more story to go over, and then we will be ending the stream a little bit early today. This is a pilot stream. But remember, you can catch the weekly dump. You can catch us basically every Sunday. I guess I saw the polls. People prefer evening, so I guess we're going to have to do evening shows. People prefer the evening shows. But you're going to catch us here on Sundays. We are going to be talking news. In the future episodes, there's going to be news, there's going to be debates, there's going to be a whole bunch of other stuff in future episodes. Today is just a little bit of a pilot, so you're not going to see that. Also, to Kevin on YouTube, it's spelled YOU''RE. I don't know. You should probably be able to spell if you're going to insult somebody. In the future, episodes will be on the YouTube page for Red Mirror. You guys will get linked to that by me soon. I promise you'll get a linking to all of that. So in the future, that's where episodes will be. Probably once we get back from the Socialism Conference, me and producer Steve are going to Chicago on July 4th weekend, so we can go to the Socialism Conference. You're also going to get a bunch of videos of that, not only on my channel, but also the Red Mirror channel. We're going to be doing interviews. We're going to be going to panels. We're going to be going to discussions. It's going to be great. So probably after that, you will see the weekly dump over on Red Mirror. And that's where we're going to be. Okay. All right, moving forward, our final story of the evening. So on July 9th, 2021, 422 workers at the GKN Auto Parts factory near Florence, Italy, received an email telling them they were fired. The British company Melrose plc, which had owned the factory since 2018, decided to close the modern plant that made drive shafts for luxury car manufacturers like BMW, Porsche, Ferrari, and Lamborghini. Instead of accepting their fate, the workers did something extraordinary. They took over their factory and refused to leave. We're going to watch a quick video just so you guys can understand a bit of what's going on.
Noi abbiamo trasformato in lotta anche i momenti di svago e se siamo alle 2 di notte a dar vita a questa particolare movida che si chiama lotta di classe è semplicemente per dirgli che possiamo essere ovunque in qualsiasi momento che decidiamo.
All right, so amazing. Now, this occupation has lasted over 3 years, making it the longest factory occupation in Italian history. The workers declared a state of permanent assembly with the goal of organizing their fight and preventing even a single screw from leaving the premises. Over 200 workers have continued the struggle despite not being paid since November 2022 and only getting occasional state benefits since then. What makes this occupation unique is how it evolved from a typical labor dispute into a model for green transformation. The workers have created their own plan to produce solar panels, batteries, and cargo bikes. And the first cargo bike prototype, entirely made in GKN, painted in the same purple as Florence's soccer team, was presented in February. The workers have built alliances with movements ranging from feminists to environmental groups. Particularly visible in the climate strikes they've organized together with youth-led movements. They formed an alliance with the climate justice movement by creating a plan for sustainable public transport. The workers have developed a plan they call reindustrialization from below. Their vision includes making solar panels with a German-Italian startup that creates cutting-edge panels without using rare earth materials, manufacturing cargo bikes with prototypes already being tested by delivery cooperatives across Italy, Germany, and the Basque Country, and turning the plant into a renewable energy community that achieves energy independence and puts extra power back into the grid. The occupation has generated massive solidarity. In September 2021, 40,000 people marched through Florence in support of the workers. On New Year's Eve, 2023, when workers faced final dismissal, thousands turned a New Year's Eve party into a mass protest at the factory. The first time in the history of our country that a New Year's party became a mass picket in front of an occupied factory. The workers launched a crowdfunding campaign called XGKN for Future that raised almost $60,000 in 2 weeks, building toward, quote, popular shareholding that will support the factory's future. They need about $23 million to buy the factory and have raised about half through their own severance payments and cooperative financing. The Labor Court overturned the layoffs for the second time in December 2023, just days before workers were to be finally dismissed on January 1st, 2024. However, the workers still face big challenges, including a new owner, Francesco Borgomo, who has failed to deliver on promises, and the need to secure full funding for their cooperative plan. The GKN occupation has become a focal point, supporting refugees and providing solidarity with anti-fascist campaigns, while inspiring similar movements across Europe. In October 2024, Greta Thunberg spoke to about 500 delegates and offered her solidarity to the workers. This occupation represents something unprecedented. Workers not just defending their jobs, but reimagining production itself for environmental sustainability while building a mass movement that challenges how we think about work, climate, action, and economic democracy. It's become a powerful symbol of how the working class can lead the transition to a green economy rather than being its victims. You guys know on this channel that class solidarity is incredibly important to me. And so we have come to a movement here. And I hope that this is a model for what we will see going forward in America, in Canada, in Mexico, in every country where capitalism has like a foothold. We need worker solidarity. We need protest. That's all for our news today, guys. I hope you enjoyed a little bit about what the weekly dump is going to be, this little mini pilot episode. Steve, how do you think the pilot episode went today?
Yeah, I think it went swimmingly.
Yeah.
Great.
Steve liked the pilot episode, everybody. Before we go, I do want to remind you guys, okay? We are going to be live here up until probably after the 4th, the weekend of the 4th. You'll be able to catch the weekly dump every week here. Next weekly dump, we will have call-ins. We will have reactions to other content. We just ran short on time today in setting up and doing a bunch of other stuff. You might have caught me on the line with Jimmy Snow right before this. I was hanging out with Jimmy over on the line, so we had to push back. Our show. So I'll be live still tomorrow with our usual back and forth, our repartee, if you will. You'll catch me with that. I hope you guys like the new setup. Here's our beautiful logo. Like, look at that, chat. Like, the weekly dump. Like, we're really out here. Okay.
Yeah, we got set dressing. We got Professor Bartleby here. You guys will see more of him.
Yeah, Professor Bartleby is he's just here right now hanging, but this is a future project. Professor Bartleby is gonna have a lot of fun. You guys don't know what's coming. Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for everybody who became members over on the YouTube page. I know a couple of you did. Let me give you guys real quick shout outs. It's Flow Easy. Thank you for becoming a tier 1 member. And Jamnick06. Thank you so much for the super chat over on YouTube. Said fun show earlier. Looking forward to this stream. I hope you had a good time. I hope you guys learned something. That's our big thing is hopefully you learned something. Thank you guys so much for watching our pilot episode. We are going to be live soon. Not right now. But we are going to be live with much longer shows in the future. So thank you so much for watching. I have been Jovan Bradley, and I still don't have an outro. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. I cannot find my end button. Here it is. Bye.